Malie and myself, as well as every other man and woman or child that was convicted after 1995, are victims of the crime bill.
Truth and sentencing.
Truth and sentencing, which we call TIS. And truth and sentencing essentially came from a campaign at that time, which was by the Republican demographic within Congress, to provide a law to address super predators, which is what they were calling young black men. Super predators. See, that law was specifically designed to attack our communities. And there was much more to that than just the law that came down with the abolishment of parole, right? 85% of your time you'll do, and then mandatory minimum sentencing. These things were incorporated into the law so that they could give us extremely long amounts of time in hopes that we would die off in those places, right? Or be gone away so long that it would create the atmosphere for mass incarceration, where they will be able to lock up more and more of those children who were without fathers, brothers, uncles, people to give them guidance and love, right? And nurture them. So when that law was passed, it was passed by a Republican, Congress and Senate, but we had a Democratic president, Bill Clinton. It was signed by Bill Clinton, drafted by current president Joe Biden, right? Nothing has ever been done to correct that, to correct those mistakes, to offer the same type of incentive that they did for states that adopted that particular law. And then they would give them, in order to qualify for the government funding, they had to arrest a certain amount of people. Where do you think they went to get the people, right? They went into the hood. They didn't go into the suburbs. They went into the hood. And each municipality that had a certain amount of arrests, they got money, and that's where they got the military weaponry and the vehicles and all that stuff. The government gave them all of that, right? They gave them all of that. What you saw going on with Mike Brown and what you saw going on at Ferguson with the tanks and the they was militarized by the government through the crime bill. See, those things have been in operation since '95. So now that we come home, we like the missing link. Like, people don't even know that this is why we suffering. This is why we still suffer in places like, especially Virginia, where they still don't have parole. They still do 85%. We still have mandatory minimums. So you're talking about a 27, year-old law, 26, 7-year-old law, 28, and counting. Right? So, like, we got to really understand what's going on 30 years now, because 94.
30, yeah.
94 to 24. Yeah, that's real. You feel me?
Yeah, listen.
We suffer from that.
We have not yet established any distance, even from the times of, from neo-slavery into debt peonage slavery. Like, we still have the laws of maritime slavery in effect. This is why we go through probation and supervision programs, because we're constantly in debt to the society. This is why they have barriers in place to where we can't get jobs and education. Like, how do you have barriers in place for men to educate themselves? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, the education is what helps refine the individual, right? It gives him the knowledge to be able to act upon, and then he can entail that into wisdom and give some understanding to his life, right? So these are the things that we're being deprived of, that as a nation of people, we seemingly don't gravitate. We don't gravitate to realize that you have to rectify the truth where it lies. You cannot continue to allow things to compound themselves and think that you're going to get some resolution. You understand? When you have, just say, I have a beef with a brother, right? Me and that brother have a beef. I have to go and attack the issue there and kill it right there, versus me and him having a beef and then we just keep going on, right? And then every time we see each other, what we gonna be doing? We're gonna grit and we're gonna be. You understand? Because why? We haven't sat down to resolve the issue. You know, well, it's the same way when you talk about the social ills of our community and how they stem, where they stem from. You see, when you have a continual process of injustice, there was an injustice done here, there was an injustice done there, there was an injustice done there. Now count that in over the 400 years, you know, and yet there's no resolve for any of the acts of injustice. So you're just compounding things. And right now, what is happening now is in the state of Virginia, what I've seen in the, and I like to say in the era in which I was incarcerated with many brothers like Hassan, you know, and we all out here today, it's a large fraction of us who are out here moving in society, creating transition, showing people that, you know, when we land here, we're making transition towards change. You know, we're not men who are, you know, resolving to going back to our old ways or just saying, okay, what happened to me, you know, I pray it don't happen to somebody else. No, we're men of action. And we're men who want to see change in our community because our forefathers, there are a lot of them that have bled for us to have more. And now we understand the era of brothers that we are flanked with, and we understand, and we've been out here working. So for us, you know what I'm saying, right now, it's about addressing the issues as a body, but individually attacking the issues. You know what I'm saying? Not just relying on one person to do the work. You know what I'm saying? One voice to be heard. You know what I'm saying? And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. The revolution is real, you know, and brothers like yourself, you know what I'm saying, are a part of that, that growth and that change. It's hard, man. It's hard, bro. Getting out here, trying to tell somebody what you mean, you know, something that they ain't got to go through. It's hard to get a person to understand that, hey man, I'm giving you some warning. You know, I want to make you aware. I want to make you awoke, brother. You know, and it's crazy, but today we had a situation where we had a little fender bender. It wasn't nothing. And we had two young brothers, like, they was really aggressive about it, like, yo, what, you know. And the one young brother, he said, man, y'all gonna have to pay out your pocket right here, right? And we like, calm down, man. You know what I'm saying? And it was crazy, but we realized how we were a part of making that situation positive. You know, and from it, we were able to walk away from them young men in laughter and forgiveness and keep it moving. And more of that needs to be demonstrated. Black men have to learn that it's okay for us to humble ourselves to one another.
Why do you think we always feel the need to be loud and boisterous and things like that in a situation, instead of, like you said, just at peace and just walking off and being able to laugh about things?
Initially, you gotta understand that's a cycle that goes back years into slavery. Because when we were brought here as a product. So a lot of times we were brought to be the strong and able bodies, and they would, just like we do with pit bulls, you know what I'm saying, we would breed them when you know, back in the days when brothers was getting pit bulls just to breed them to fight, you know what I'm saying, that's what they would do with black men, you know what I'm saying, and they as slaves, you know, we was a sport. So we had to learn a lot of behaviors that are aggressive. Not only in the behavior of us being aggressive in a physical manner, but then we also were taught to be desensitized, to detach ourselves from our families. You know, we were groomed like you don't get stable, you keep moving. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because what they would do with the strong male, they would have him have sex with a number of slave women, have children with her, and then they would sell him off. You know what I'm saying? And so he's being trained to behavior like this. You know, and when you got 400 years of this type of psyche going into a nation of people, you know, it starts to ingrain itself in the DNA. You know what I'm saying? And so that, you know.
Right, that's real. I think that you really have to look at it from the standpoint of saying, you know, when we think about our struggle here and what we've come through, right? The indoctrination of it all. To think that prices were placed upon black bodies, right? And then black bodies being told this is how much you're worth. And being told that as though there is some limit to your value in a way in which you can't see the beneficence of God there, right? Because as you know, as a lesser being, when you lose your ability to reason, right, or as a higher being, when you lose your ability to reason, you begin to function on an animalistic wavelength, right? And so our people were conditioned that way,
right,
as property, and function as property, right, with mindless compliance, which inevitably I would say that we really had to fight against in order for us to even be standing here right now.
Is it?
Right? We had to fight against it. Somebody fought against it. And some known and some unknown. Right? So now we're in a position to take that, right, understanding that we have about ourselves and find a way to incorporate a higher sense of value, purpose, all those things within our people, within our youth. First and foremost, it's the youth. It's the youth. Like, some people, when they get to a certain point, they already gone, man. You can't get them back. You can't pull them back. They too far gone into the sauce. They lost in the sauce. Sausage or the sausage. Right? Like we like to say. And that's the world. Right? They lost in the world. And so the children, the babies, they the only ones that's going to be able to show you the way out. Right? But you got to show them too. See, it's them standing beside us, walking with us. You know? Like, I have to think that when me and my daughter are together, right, that we stronger together. I know that. Because she bring up things that I never even thought about thinking in that way. And I say, hey man, she just gave me the answer to what I was looking for, right? But in her own way. And we had to be able to listen enough to hear it, right? Patient enough to guide. I love what Lil Rob said, what he said earlier today, right? He said, men, they do what? Make decisions, and children make mistakes. It's our opportunity to make sure that they don't make those mistakes, to help them through those mistakes. You know, as men, that's what we have to do to give back. Because, like, we talk enough about the problem. Like, really, we talk enough about the problem that, yeah, like, I was gone for 23 years. Like, my younger brother, who was my main man, had to be in them streets by himself then. And I felt that. Right? I felt that. You know?
You ever heard this? It was a movie way back when I was a youth. It's called Mandingo. And Mandingo was was a slave who became like a champion, and you know, he was a fighter, but he was also endowed. So you know what I'm saying? He was like breeded.
Yeah.
And in the movie, they describe this is back in the 80s or the 70s. I think the early 80s. This movie.
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, and it gives you a direct. The movie gives you an actual um, um, great depiction of why we're so aggressive towards one another and where our aggression comes from. Because a lot of aggression comes from our hurt. You know, of how we as men have, we recognize that we haven't been as responsible as we should. We dropped the ball. You know what I'm saying? But there's a reality to that. There's a reality that deals with our psyche as to why we've dropped the ball. You know what I'm saying? And so when you start to acknowledge that, now you have to come up with a solution. And the solution is for every man to realize that you can't define for another man what that description of a man is. You just have to be the example of a man who you believe is going to present the best presentation possible. And then respect that. You know what I'm saying? And then when there is disagreement, there's understanding. Because there's respect. Okay, let's build on this. And so once we can start to recultivate ourselves in that manner, then we'll see the you know, the aggression and things die down. You know, when you start to understand that, hey man, you got to make some better decisions. You know, when I was in prison, bro, 25 years, this is my word. I met a lot of dudes who added on to their life sentence. You know, you pushing that knife and all of that, right? And it wasn't until, you know, I went through an experience myself where I had to either I was going to die in prison or I was going to survive and fight for my life. And I never forget when I had to go behind a closed door and I'm in my cell and I'm praying and crying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow this, that He provides me with cover, because I had to maybe do something, you know, to save my life. Bro, I know a lot of killers, and that was the first time I knew for certain that I wasn't the only one feeling like that. And when I went into, and I had the opportunity to meet these brothers, and then I would share with them my story, and they was like, yo, yeah, I know that feeling. I've been there. You know what I mean? When you meet brothers that's got 3 and 4 life sentences because they killed 3 men, or they stabbed in prison. We ain't talking about on the streets.
Right.
We talking about in prison. And but to those who are coming into this with hollow minds, the first thing they think, oh, yo, he thorough. Yo, he cold-blooded. He know how to do his time, right? But you don't know that man is crying too behind the door. You know what I'm saying? That man has nights where he's in the shower and he's allowing the shower to hide his tears. You know what I'm saying? And people don't realize there's reality, and then there's your reality. You know what I mean? And that I came to acknowledge. That's a reality. I came to acknowledge that. That's why when I walk on these streets, you know what I'm saying? I don't play on no other man. I don't care how big, small, how much finesse he got. I don't play on no other man as being soft or weak. You feel me? Because I know at the end of the day, there's my reality and the reality of who he is and what he is and what he's capable of. And I have to respect that. And you know, I'm my mother's only child. I'm my father's oldest of 4. And for me, you know, there was a lot of things that inspired me to do right. You know, but the one thing that had to inspire me the most was loving myself. And to realize that I needed to change.
How'd you learn how to do that?
I learned how to do that by first seeking my Lord, by, you know, applying myself to, you know, studying my deen, learning my religion, you know what I'm saying, so that I can understand my purpose, you know, and realize, you know what I'm saying, the magnitude of how significant it was that I had life. You know what I mean? And to have gratitude for that. And I worked hard, you know, to rectify some of my ills. Not what, you know, people seeing in me. I'm talking about me focusing in assessing me, you know, looking in that mirror, you know what I'm saying, and really going into who I was and realize I wasn't satisfied with that dude. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make change. And change begins with change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It don't begin because you say I want change. Change begins with change.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, most definitely, I think that my cost. You know, when I went in, I was highly like upset with my process, with what was happening at the time when I was going in front of the judge.
We gotta talk about that too.
Because I didn't really know what was going on with me, because I wasn't up on it. I was out there in the streets. I was playing in the streets. I was carrying a pistol. I was doing all those things, man. Holding the sack, all that. We done everything, man. Stolen cars, all, you name it, right? And when I went into prison, I felt like I always been up on game. I ain't never get caught up in nothing, you know, previously, before this incarceration, right? But I was always a thinker.
Excuse me.
So when I went through court, man, I was just baffled about what was going on with me, because they doing all this around me and I have no understanding of what's going on. And when I end up with my sentence, right? And I get 26 years, right? Knowing that 85%, I'm gonna have to do 23 and a half to kill that 26, right? That's all the good time that you get with the 4.5 for every 30 days that you serve.
4.4, right?
4.45.
Yeah.
For every 30 days that you serve a 4.5.
Yeah.
They round up to. But my whole point by saying that is that I took that energy and then said, man, I'm never gonna allow them to pull the wool over my eyes again. So that desire to fight for my freedom put me in the law library. The first thing I did before I even put up my stuff when I went into the barracks at Buckingham, right, was I went and filled out a law library request and stuck it inside the mailbox. Then I went and unpacked, right, because I needed to know. And when I got there, I met a brother by the name of Elmo X. And Elmo put me on game, right? He put me on Black's Law Dictionary. He put me on all the different books that I needed to read to get my mind right. Georgetown Law Journal and all these different things that I needed to get my mind right. And then I ended up going to Waters Ridge. And all I did was study. And so, you know, a whole series of events took place in between then and the time that I actually became a paralegal. And so now, in taking that experience, right, being able to help men get their freedom, even though I wasn't able to get mine, right, every time I would help somebody to be able to walk out the door, right, it was a piece of me walking out with them. Take that to the street, because it's coming. And so now that is morphed into everything that we've done up to right now, our current venture, which is Prisoners' Rights Clinic, right? Prisoners' Rights Clinic. And then we partner with Community United Focus and Freedom Over Everything, which is Krista Ellison.
We got Point of Impact.
Point of Impact.
We you know,
Right.
it's amazing to me, man. Like, I know Allah has moved me in my life. Like, I work in the Norfolk City Jail, bro. I'm working in a place that I was deprived of my rights. You know, I was given 50 years with 30 years to do for unarmed robbery with no weapon, no assault, no trauma upon the victim. My bail was $150. So how do I end up with 50 years with 30 years to do? Huh?
Say that again.
Yeah. I went to prison.
Yeah.
For a robbery charge with no weapon, no assault, no trauma upon the victim. My bail was $150. And yet I was given 50 years with 30 years to do. I served time with 3 cell partners that had double murders, and I had more time than him.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and you know what I'm saying, and the whole thing, like what Hassan is speaking about, is that awakening. You know, like I was talking about, it's like you awaken and you realize either you're gonna surrender to this or you're gonna fight for your life. And my DNA is for me to fight. My DNA is for me to fight. But for the first time, I was learning how to fight for righteousness. You know what I mean? For righteousness. And understanding, like, man, I'm a civilized, intelligent being. And in doing so, I need to be treated in that manner. But that starts first with me. You know what I'm saying? Me showing that, you know, I respect myself. And, you know, it's every day. I sit back and I'm like, I want the children to know, like, you gotta empower yourself with education and knowledge. You know, I walked in that courtroom paying an attorney $3,000, 3 stacks, and I ended up with a life sentence because I was ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Because I put my life in somebody else's hand. You know, and I decided not to do that. And I decided that wasn't going to happen anymore for me. And so I went in there and I worked hard to learn what I can about how to be able to embody the community as a clinician, but yet not yet certified in mental health, but understanding the mental health issues so that I can impact my community. You know, understanding what it is to do civil work in the community, you know what I'm saying? And things like that. Because I didn't have to, I was like, no, I'm going to do the work now. I live in a community right now. I live in a minute society, which consists of people who look just like me. Have you ever found it unusual? Black people in the state of Virginia, black men, between 56 and 53% of us, of this, are the population, okay, compared to only 19% of society's population. So why is it that in the prison system, the black men are the least united community? But yet you got all the smaller unit, all the other smaller nationalities, they're united. They're united. The black man in prison in the state of Virginia, 53% of us, we are the larger number majority of the time, no matter what. So I was in 14 different institutions here in my 25 years. You know what I'm saying? I was in 14 different institutions, you know? And to survive that, considering that I had nobody to really rely on and say gonna hold me down. Man, I can remember the first time I went to Greensville. I've never seen this in my life. I've been Muslim since I was 17. Muslims always had a certain dignity in prison, right? They respected. I'll never forget my first night at Greensville Correctional Facility in 1996. In August of 1996, in the month of Ramadan, my first night, to see Muslims going at each other with knives. I was like, what in the world did I just come into? Muslims, black men attacking themselves. I'm talking about with machetes. And this right here was for me, it should have been for me at that moment, the sign that, brother, you gotta be on. It's getting ready to get real. And that right there was some of the things that just made me realize that I want to survive. I want to be a different man. You know what I'm saying? I want to be a different man. And I salute, I give most praise and glorification to Allah and thanks to Allah for everything that I'm blessed with. But I have to be honest with you. Allah, Allah is exempt from what we're talking about as far as praise. But I have to give praise to all the men who surrounded me with their love and who poured into me with their protection and who poured into me with their knowledge and their wisdom, because they were the reason why I went home. I'm home right now to love my mother. You know what I'm saying? So I have a debt to pay back far greater than what society talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
How do you I think it's very key to, we speak a lot about community and it takes a village, but I think it's very key when you have men in that village, because a lot of times when people speak of village and then I take a look at it, the structure of it, it's like predominantly women, or women are at the head of that village that they speak of, but it's very important to have men that have experienced life on different levels.
Absolutely.
And that can pour into you. When I look at these young guys nowadays, man, and the ones that constantly fall victim to the system, or just can't seem to fly right, or be on the straight and narrow. Why you think it's such a wide disconnect, like with them having like male models in their lives?
Well, I mean, for one, like we talked about the idea that those laws that we talked about before that were strategically done to disembody, right, the black mechanism of empowerment here in America. Right, you got to know, like, we were attacked multiple times. Right, we were attacked in the 70s with heroin. We were attacked in the 80s with crack. Right, we were attacked in the 90s with the actual law. You see, and then we coming back around again. You see, we into the 2000s now.
As well as that.
Right.
You can't have a man in the house.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah.
See,
welfare,
yeah.
all that.
Right, everything, G. And so when we talking about that type of stuff, right, now you see the systemic, right, manner in which they disembody our communities, our families, this social structure, right, that love that's needed there. To think about, I told you, like, I was there, I love my brother, I left my brother, right? And I think about how many men left their sons, right? How many sons left their fathers.
Yeah.
Like, that disconnect, right? That father whose son is in prison may never be a grandfather. You see?
Yeah.
That son who's in prison, who left a son on the street, that son may never have a father.
Yeah.
Right? And so that disconnect is there because we are the missing link.
Yeah.
Like, we the missing link. We know that, though.
Yeah.
This is why we work so hard to be the tie that binds, to be the glue within those things that's necessary to see us make it to the next stage of evolution within who we are going to be. And I believe that we're divine people, spiritual people, right? I believe that we're the family of Abraham, Muslims, Jews, and Christians, right? And that there's only one God. And then that one God is going to direct us in one way, and that's going to be righteousness. And I don't care where you go or who you are, right? God is not a respecter of persons. God is a respecter of deeds. Deeds. What are your deeds? And so, because we acknowledge that disconnect, and we know that there are systemic reasons why, and then there are other reasons why, right? That deal with our own inability to create love for self and love within ourselves. That we have to get that back. So we have to pour. Like, we began to love ourselves while we was locked up.
Yeah, man.
You see, like, us being taken away from all of the commotion,
Yeah, man.
and all those different things made me start to really, like, look at myself differently.
Yeah, man.
And say, you know what, man, I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm watching it. I'm not oblivious to what's going on in society. Don't think we don't get TV and we don't get, like, we always aware.
Yeah.
I am.
Right? But now, but the aware man who's righteous, his awareness spawned him to do more righteousness. Right. So I'm looking for where the problem at. And I'm striving to be the solution.
Yeah.
That's I think that's it.
I can relate on so many different levels, man. Because I remember, you know, during my time, man, you know, I left my brother out here. I went away when I didn't do half of the time you guys did, but a day away from people you love is a day too many.
True.
But I left on my 17th birthday. The day of, I remember walking past my cake, and I never got to cut it, blow the candles out, or nothing. You know, and my brother and I, we're 7 years apart, so that means he was 10. You know, so wow, what was happening is, in which, you know, I can relate with you guys because a transition was taking place with everybody. When you're 10 going to 11, you're going from 5th grade to 6th grade. You're going from elementary school to middle school. When you're 17, you're going from a teen to an adult.
Exactly.
Legally. You know, you were how old when you went in?
I was 23.
23.
Yeah.
Not too far over 20.
Oh, no.
You're still where they consider to be a statistic to die at 21.
Yeah,
you were,
that's right.
I was 30.
You was 30.
I went in 4 days for my 30th.
Still a transition though, because I mean, still a significant transition because, he said the 30s will make or break you as a man.
No question.
You know, if you haven't got your mistakes together,
that's right.
You know, if you ain't got your act right,
that's right.
You probably ain't going.
Right.
Yeah. So
no doubt.
We all were enduring serious transition. How was your brother when you went in?
See, and my brother is just like your brother. My brother is about 6.5 years younger than me.
So about 17.
About 7.
So he was transitioning.
He was transitioning. Adulthood. Most definitely.
And
most
so,
definitely.
You know what's crazy?
What's
most
that?
Definitely.
My brother was 2 years old when I went in.
2 years old.
2 years old.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even build that bond.
My brother was 2 years old.
So that's another transition because because memory is at 5. So, you know, most kids' earliest memory is like 5.
Yes.
And so, you know, God willing that he has like knowing of you, because most kids have no memory at that young. So you know, I can only imagine what it's like trying to even build a bond with somebody that don't remember you.
Yes.
Right.
You know,
right.
and it's like my brother. Like, what do you mean, my brother? I
Right, no doubt.
brother.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't see him growing up in the house or playing football or you know, and so
Exactly.
I think one of the things that we often don't speak of enough is transition.
Right.
You know, as a people. I remember years ago when Drake first came out. Y'all familiar with the artist
Right.
Drake?
Right.
I remember when he kind of came out, probably over 10 years ago now, but everybody was like 0 to 100. That was the saying, 0 to 100. And it became like a attitude within the people. I'm about to go from 0 to 100. But you don't understand how dangerous of a transition that is.
Right.
From 0 to 100.
Yeah, right.
Nothing is supposed to go from 0 to 100 just like that.
Exactly.
You know, even God sends warning.
That's right.
You know, God don't just go 0 to 100. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
right.
you
That's
get
right.
so you playing the devil's game.
No question.
You know, you playing the devil's game, and so we all fell victim to the devil's game.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at with all this. Like, you know, anytime there's not a process, that's the devil's game.
Right. Right.
You know, cause they say even in the Christian Bible it says, you know, God built the world in 7 days. It's a process. It's a process. You know, and so what I'm realizing is that society has set it up where we as a people we can't even assemble to create a process, but we go through everybody else's process. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so what I'm realizing is that not only do we have to come together, because we've been hearing that for God knows how long. Oh, we need to come together. But when we come together, what do we need to do when we come together? You know, we need to create process.
Right.
You know, we need to establish rules and boundaries and laws and bylaws, and we need to.
Right.
You know, if these people gonna be running for office, coming out of our districts, like, you know, we need to be making sure that they adhere to the process that we put in place.
Yeah.
Because as long as we come together and we don't have no process, you know, then we're gonna continue to lose.
Right.
We're gonna continue to lose.
True.
And so I think that even when you say like you was able to sit back and like watch the society and kind of had an out of body experience, like that was probably the first time you was able to see the process.
Oh yeah.
That it took for you to get incarcerated. It was like, wow, man, like it's, you know, yeah, you might have did whatever you did, but it was like, man, like I ain't realized it was this deep. Like it's so many forces that's working against you.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
And
they're not visible.
Yeah.
Right.
You see, that's why it's very important for us to understand we can't control the events, but our response is what gives us the outcome. Because the events are going to happen. You may not understand anything of the scheme behind what's getting ready to happen to you because there's already been a conspiracy set in play. You understand? So the only thing you can do is respond. Your response has to be what is going to be something of benefit for you. And today we have to realize that walking together is the most imperative thing for a black man right now. It's the most imperative. Right now you got, and I'm just going to put, you know, I'm speaking theoretically, but right now you got, they're making movies about the next revolution.
Oh, Civil War.
You know, Civil War. They're making movies about it.
Right.
Because they're anticipating it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But what we already realized we've been in a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, indeed.
We realized that already.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't had it. We haven't had an edge of victory in it. You understand? And when you can look right now, you can turn on. I can turn on CNN right now, and they got Donald Trump up there talking about how many indictments he already got over his head. But this man has not sat one day in a jail.
Right.
But yet you incarcerated me on false charges, compounded my pre-sentencing report, and incarcerated me for 50 years illegally, and then give me no resolution.
Right.
So the reality is I've been in the Civil War, you know, and now we just have to realize how important we are to one another.
Right.
And that starts with us reinforcing that, validating that. You know, I get it. We ain't gonna agree on everything. I get it. We're gonna have some differences,
Right.
but at the end of the day, we have to be able to walk away from the table with understanding and being able to realize that reasoning is all we have, and it has to be embodied with sincere love. But the love starts with self first.
Right.
You know, I can't be hateful towards my brother. I went to prison. When I got out of prison, 25 years. My cousin, who's like my brother, he's like my brother. Buried in March. I got out December the 17th, 2020. I buried him March the 9th, 2021. No, excuse me, not March the 9th, 2022. How do you anticipate me feeling with that? I was gone from my brother's life for 25 years. Once I got out, 3 months after I got out of prison, he was in the feds holding facility. You understand? We never got to spend one day in the physical domain together, circumference together. After we talked about it, we dreamed about it. All we wanted was that moment together again. Never got to see it. It's so much hurt that I could talk about. I got teared up a few times just talking about it. The relationship with my mother, the woman that I love who bore me. You know, the relationship with my daughter, my only biological child in this world, destroyed. You know what I'm saying? So again, for me, I realize that I got to be prepared for battle. Every day I wake up and I have to be prepared to battle, not only because of I want to save myself, but I have to be prepared to battle to save those who are closest to me, who I love, and I have to be ready to just give love, man. I ain't got room for hate.
Yeah.
For my people.
Yeah.
I ain't got room for it.
Yeah. You know, this struggle, I think the struggle is ordained.
Ordained.
Right? It builds the will.
That's right.
Right? It builds the will to overcome surely the next hurdle or next obstacle or what have you that's going to come your way. It's a part of your nourishment unto perfection. If you don't struggle, right? See, nothing comes without struggle. Like, no diamond comes without pressure being applied to the diamond.
That process, right?
Right.
Yeah, process.
It doesn't manifest. It has to be pressure.
That's right.
And I believe, you know, when you look at our struggle in its entirety, right? From time immemorial to now, and just the transatlantic slave trade and the diaspora and continental slave trade on Africa as well, right? It's a pressure cooker, right? And I believe that we are the product, ultimately, of that slavery and then neo-slavery, like twice over slaves, that we be able to come back from that death and tell you what life is about, what it means to truly live, right? To truly not take things for granted, right? Because that's why I work so hard. I work so hard because I know it's brothers in there that I missed call earlier today on my, because I had my phone on do not disturb, right, while we were filming at the juice bar, and I missed the call, and I was like, oh man, I missed the call, and it's sticking, it's like a dagger in my cart, right, because I know that there's brothers inside that would kill for the problems that I got, right? So I had to catch myself constantly always talking about, what I got to do, what I ain't did yet, what I'm trying, and really just trying to hone in on the fact that, yo, hold up, man. It's brothers on the inside.
Don't have nothing.
That don't have nothing. Like,
man,
they dealing with fentanyl lockdowns 14 days at a time now. Right?
Yeah, man.
What fentanyl lockdowns describe? Explain.
Well, right now, we're addressing the current fentanyl crisis
in prison.
Inside of the prisons. Prisons Rights Clinic has recently drafted a letter to Chadwick Dotson, in which Community United Focus and multiple other organizations signed on in support of saying that we need to find alternatives to the methods that you all are using to violate the human rights of men and women inside of prison, right? Based on drug addiction, based on a drug problem, right? That you cause, because nobody been getting no visits.
Nobody.
So how in the world of fentanyl getting in there for guys to overdose from?
How are they getting it? How are they getting it? How are they able to even attain this? Now these are things that we talking about and we building on, right? But man, like, when is it gonna be some solutions?
Yeah.
Like, this is, this ain't the first time this done happened in the prisons to black men.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? And every day, man, it's just important to do your part to try to make something of someone's life better, cause you know what it feel like. You know what it feel like for your mom. Man, my mother used to drive 6 hours, bro, to see me behind the glass for an hour, and then it was times she drove and couldn't see me. You know, like, you gotta understand the magnitude of your purpose is far greater than you can imagine in this world, man. And the only way that I was able to attain it is, sadly, I had to go through what I went through, man. But, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it because I know the man I am. I don't need to prove to another black man what my strengths are. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to prove to, anybody what I'm capable of doing and ain't capable of doing. What I need to prove is that I'm just here to do the right thing, because that benefits me, the people I love, and the people that surround me, my community. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's important to me, man. This right here, being able to do this is something I've been striving to do for a long time. And I've had, we've had, I got my man, he started on a little document, and then another cat, he started on a little document, little pieces and clips here. But telling my story and being able to convey my story to people, like, people don't understand, like, it scars you, man. It scars you, bro, to people that you love, to leave this earth that you'll never be able to say goodbye to be in prison and watch men die in your hands, from fentanyl, or from a stabbing, or from the most vicious thing, poor medical assistance. Literally, watch a man take his last breath, watch his eyes go cold because medical attention didn't get to him in time enough. Like, to come home after you go through all these things, trauma, man. Just the fears that you had to overcome. you know, putting a knife in your hand to take another man's life, not knowing whether you're gonna lose your life. You know, you ain't gotta lose it in the physical. You can lose it with that time they gonna give you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
These are these things that you had to conquer. You know, that you had to really, it's people don't understand how serious it is, and for men and women to have to come home and have to fight through barriers and all this stuff. That's ridiculous, bro. Because all we're doing is perpetuating the illness. If we don't treat these people, then we're perpetuating the illness to continue, the cycle to continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not for that, bro. I'm not for it. I will give my life before I just stand by and not do nothing. You understand? I'm not that dude. I can't do it. I didn't do it in the prison system. I'm not going to do it out here. We have to be willing to sacrifice, man. You know? And it's not about, you know what I'm saying, my people and your people. We all people.
Yeah.
And when that hurt come, bro, it hit us hard. It hit all of us. You know? And it's not easy to deal with. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time I was sitting on the phone with my mom, and my father had called me, talked to my attorney. My mother was trying to kind of pep me for this meeting I'm gonna have with my attorney, and she was like, "Look, I want you to tell this guy the truth." And he came to see me, and you know, my mother was like, "Your father had a long talk with him. He was coming to see me for the first time to represent my case." And you know, I was so excited, you know, going with everything, you know, to plead my case to this man. And he came in, and I sat down for an hour and a half with him. And one thing my mother told me, she was like, "Son, I went to see him, and I told him that I would need him to do me one favor." And he asked what that was, and I asked him to go see you himself, to allow you to speak for yourself. You know, I can speak for you, but it's nothing more beneficial that I can say that you can say better, you know? So I asked him to go see you, son. So he's coming to see you, son. And she said, your father had a long talk with him. He came in to see me, and he sat down and listened to me for an hour and a half, seriously, nonstop, for an hour and a half. When I finished for that hour and a half, he finally said to me, "Well, Mr. Hansford, I initially came here to tell you that you had too many institutional charges for me to recommend you to get conditional pardon. Even though I see in your first 8 years where you attained all these charges, and you have been charged free for the last 3 years. You understand? I came here to really tell you that I don't think I can represent you." He said, "But after listening to your story and all the evidence that you presented to me of your circumstances, I can't leave here without fighting and advocating for you." He said there were two people that touched me the most. He said, your mother is a lioness. She fought for you. She said it did your father. Now this is a black man being told his father. My father, he said, I never had another black man tell me that his son is the most marvelous human being on earth. And he deserves an opportunity to live his life right. And he said, the reason why I want you to go fight for my son is because my son is in there fighting for himself. He said, so I need you to go in there and fight for my son. And the man said, he can't do nothing but do that. And he said, because everything my mother said about me, everything my father said about me, he said he finds it to be true. And he sees me as a wonderful person, you know, and I was grateful to hear that, you know, and that was the beginning of me having more hope. and to knowing that everything I was doing, Allah was rewarding me. Keep working, brother. Keep working. And that was 13 years. That was 2013. I got out 2020. You know. So my life now is just dedicated to really working hard, man, to try to help other people. Because people reported me, man. They helped me. A brother by the name of Shaquille Ali and a brother by the name of Sakeem Paul Teller. They both were doing time with me. They both went home. They both fought for me to come home. You know, Senator Joseph Morsi went right to heart, went right to bat for me. And then because of those two men going to him to sit down with my family, that Allah triggered all that emotion to one day I woke up December the 17th. They called me at 2 o'clock. They called me to the council's office. I can tell you all, I was on the toilet. The Joker called me to go to the council's office. I went to the council's office. They got 45 minutes. We got 45 minutes to get you out of this prison.
Hopped up quick.
45 minutes, Mr. Hansford. We got to get you out of this prison. So I need you to get all your things and just go. And I'll never forget it, bro. It was the most invigorating, exhaling, but sad experience I've ever had in my life. Never experienced something so conflicting. Because even though I was so happy for myself, I was really hurting for a lot of people. Because I left so many dudes, bro, that I'm talking about my dudes, man. For 25 years that I ate, slept, therapy, prayed with. You know what I'm saying? It just...
So you know, really.
That's all I do. Yeah. And just be told, like, yo, you gotta leave him.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta leave him.
It's like every time you get transferred.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I've been in 10 prisons, and I know he's been in like 14. And throughout our journeys, whenever you build those bonds with brothers, every time you leave, it's like bittersweet.
Hey, man.
Like, you know, sometimes you just be like, I ain't trying to go.
I ain't trying to go like you
do. You know, I done bucked a couple of times and stayed at a couple of places like that, and then my security level go up and they ship me anyway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I done all of that, but you know,
how important is it to have, you know, people that you bond with when you're doing time?
Whoa, it's the most important thing. Like we're social beings, right? So we need community, you know, like that's why men and women have children and we have families, and those families become tribes and nations and then states and countries and so forth like that. But that's just how we are. We are created that way. And so like when you go into a place like that, you automatically looking for the people that you can vibe with, because you in a whole nother world. It's a different world. We say Allah is Lord of all the worlds, where prison is a world.
Yes, sir.
Inside of this world. And in prison, in that world, there's worlds.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Cultures and subcultures.
Yes, sir.
And it's very important having camaraderie. Comrades, like them brothers, we've been through the trenches together.
Yeah, man.
You know, brothers that I love that's still incarcerated in there, like Scary Donso Lumumba and Coca Magnetic Robinson, and countless others, Chanel Burnett at Fluvanna, and so many others that I can name, Seconde Matthew.
It's so many people that and they're in there. A lot of them in there unjustly,
and they good people.
Good people.
Deserve to be out here helping us. They'll be here helping us.
Fighting the fight, bro. Like, in there fighting the fight. See, there's a world in there, man, that... you know what I hate? People try to depict prison like, you know, you can do it on your own. There's no freaking way in the world you can do it on your own. People can isolate themselves from certain groups, but somebody's always going to find something to build a companionship with. Someone to build a companionship with. You know what I'm saying? And in prison, like my thing, I got along with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Puerto Ricans, white guys, black, Muslims, Christians, Jews,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
5%ers, more science. I got along with everybody. But then I did have those oppositions, those ops, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, always, you run into those ops, and then you got the police. Even I'm keeping one. I had police who would look out, like they like, yo, you a good dude, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for, and they would look out. And then I had those police like, you know what, you a good dude, but I'm gonna make sure your day is horrible. You know what I'm saying? Because you're a good dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They ain't who you supposed to be. Stop faking.
Mm-hmm.
You
gonna bring it out you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it come out you. You know what I'm saying? And it's in there. Brotherhood for me is I brought that what I was raised on that. Being from Patterson, I was raised on brotherhood. I'm a protector naturally. This is my little brother. I love him. And in the same way I would regard his life in prison,
Indeed.
I regard it out here in the society.
Yes, sir.
And in them prison walls, I can remember so many times, changing brothers' minds and hearts from doing things that'll be harmful to them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And stepping up saying, hey man, you got to make a better decision here. I'm not going to let you go out like that. And then I can remember so many times that brothers poured into me like that. Like, yo, man, I ain't going to let you go out like that. Now we're gonna circumvent this and let's sit down and, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so brotherhood is very important. It's your foundation. And being able to be in a society where you're respected by your peers, and loved. You know what I'm saying?
I couldn't leave. Hard to leave, man.
It was hard.
The day I walked out, I literally walked out backwards.
It's hard.
I told guys that I would walk out this door backwards because I never wanted to forget the sight of seeing the men that I was leaving behind me, and that it was a reminder to always remember those men, right? To remember where I came from and never forget that. And, embracing that has been my saving grace, right? Embracing the fact that I know that the struggle continues.
That's right.
And that I'm just an extension of it out here, right? And that I pull from there for the energy and the strength that we need to accomplish these missions out here, because we know if we can open up the doors.
How many people you can help? When we're not saying don't change your narrative, that's not what we're saying. We're saying definitely you want to change your narrative, because being in prison is not your narrative. It's not who you are. But it's what made you who you are. You understand? And saluting that to me is very important.
Yeah.
Respect the brothers who don't like to let people know they've been to prison or whatever. I respect. That's your. But me, I have to remind myself that that's what gave me the resilience to succeed right now as I'm in society.
Right.
Because the struggle, as the brother was just saying, life is not flatline until you're no longer here. In Islam, we say that Imam increases and it decreases. Faith increases and it decreases. So when you take that analogy of faith increasing and decreasing, just analogize that with life in general. You don't have the same money all the time. You don't have the same feelings about love and things and relationships all at one time. You don't. Your health is never all the same. Your health is good, it's bad. You know what I'm saying? Your age, you were young, now you're gonna get old. It's never flatline. So you have to be ready for change and struggle and transformation and preparing yourself for these things, because when you come out in society, bro, ain't giving you. There's no pass. There's no pass for you.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And if you don't own up, to me, it's like the more you try to reject it, for me, it would be great difficulty. For me, I've embraced my experience. You know what I'm saying? And I don't always speak to it in this similitude, but I always speak to it. And I may just let people know ahead of time, well, I've accomplished some of this, and that. And then I let them know, I did 25 years in prison. So why do I do that? Because I want them to understand that no matter what you're going through, bro, you can do it. You understand what I'm saying? I get it, but you can do it. Because even though I'm telling you my horror story, there's somebody else that has a greater horror story. You know what I mean? And it's all about building and adding on, bro. Building and adding on. You know what I'm saying? And and that's why.
That's what we hear.
One of the things I think me and Hassan have the most in bringing us in this magnetic, because we have a natural, I don't know, chemistry. You know what I'm saying? We just
cool like that.
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
And we did the same. We do in the same era, but we just by passing it, we never was in the same institution together, but we were with the same people. If that makes you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so by us hearing of each other, and it's like I've already knew about Hassan before I had to even come in his presence. Yeah. He knew about me before we came into each other's presence because of the people we surround ourselves with.
Right.
But it's like that brotherhood is especially out here, is so important. You know what I'm saying? The greatest support I get is from my brother. Like if I pick up the phone and I call him, man, I'm hurting. Like he gets it. You know what I'm saying? He gets it. He gets where I'm coming from. And to be able to have that release is very important. And that's why we strive to be there for other brothers, not just who've been through prison, but just through some of the courses of life that can be painful, because we do identify and we do understand, and we like to just encourage them. You can win. You know what I'm saying? You can win, bro. You breathing. You're not losing.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why we work so hard. Like, man, we travel up and down the road to be together, brother. Yeah. We don't just, we not in the same city together.
Right.
We not no well-paid cats. You know what I'm saying? We work hard for our dough. We got families that we feed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we there for each other.
Yeah.
At the drop of the hat, we there for each other. Yeah. And by the grace of Allah, Allah moves all things by might and strength of Him. La hawla wa la quwwata billah. And yeah, we recognize that. But we know and also understand that Allah says a man can only have what he strives towards.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Bro. And when Allah mentions sabr, patience, He brings perseverance behind it. Because He's not telling you to be patient as in a sit still. He's telling you to be patient through the trials. To keep striving through the trials. Be patient through the trials. Because they're going to be there.
Right.
Process.
Boy,
you deep. I love it. I love feeling. And this is what I'm saying. See how it all came back around. This I appreciate what you're doing for us.
Yeah. No, man, appreciate you all, man, because, it's a lot, man. Like you said, you could be doing life, man, and, we wouldn't have none of this, and so.
Yeah, and there's brothers in there that's doing life, man.
Yeah. They say the richest place in the world is a cemetery, and I say the second most is the prison.
That's right. That's right. It's a lot of knowledge. This is a brother. The first person that ever impacted. I'm gonna just mention his name. His name is Ralph Walker Abdul Hakim, and this brother was so significant.
Abdul Hakim.
Yeah. And he died. This brother was. I'm gonna tell you how special this brother was. His brother used to catch seizures, and he was the imam. And his brother would be reading the Quran in Arabic and catch a seizure. And then when he would come out of the seizure and know exactly where he left off at. And begin I'm like talking about not even reading from the book, just from heart and mind. And he would be right on our brother. And he passed away. He was he was given parole and they took it from him 2 months later after they gave it to him because he killed a state trooper. And the family, though the parole board gave him parole, the family disputed his release. And, you know, when I seen this man die, for me it was like I had to process like, yo, he invested in you so that you can get out and live. Like, this dude was the only dude I have ever met that actually I seen everybody from the police just respect this man. Like, literally just respect him. Like, if he gave an order, I'm talking about the captains and the lieutenants and the majors they would respect his call. That's uncalled, that's unheard of in a prison. You understand? But that's how much respect and esteem this man had in the community, and I was able to be someone that he really put under his wing. You know what I'm saying? And I learned from him. And so when I get out and I have brothers like Hassan is my brother. I don't
Right.
I don't know no other words to describe him. So when one of the things I'm so grateful for when I hear him talk about his 23 years is, man, I look at all that he does in his community. You know, how he's a great father, great son. And, you know, ain't nobody that you're going to think served 23 years in prison. You know?
I appreciate that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you walk into a room with him and I need that in my life. So I attach myself to it as best I can. Meeting you,
right,
DeAndre, I have met a really, really wonderful man. And you know, every time I come around you, you just reinforce that.
Yeah.
You know, seeing you here with your nephew and this, you know, you reinforce that. And I love your low key. You're very low key for a young guy. That's rare. You know what I'm saying? Especially with all you do. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys like that attention. You know, man, I do this. You know, they want to be, but you're very low key, and I deeply appreciate you for this opportunity, not only for me but for my bro to tell his story, for us to talk and just have a conversation about the pain, because you know, I haven't had that. I like I said, I began to join on my crime because I was incarcerated illegally, but I've never really had a sit down to where I could talk about the pain I feel, the trauma, you know, that I went through and I'm still going through.
Yeah. We all are.
My mental health is.
We all are.
I battle with, you know what I'm saying?
We all are. Like I all every day, small things like you don't even realize like that Krista always have to tell me, like, yo, you don't gotta talk that loud, right? And the other day when we was in the gym and you was talking and Sakeem said, yo, use your pod voice. He was like, yo, use your pod voice, bro. And I have to break myself out of using my pod voice. Like, I don't have to talk loud to be heard. You know, or just in dialogue and just talking loud. She's like, we gotta talk that loud, baby. And I'd be like, damn, I don't even realize you doing it.
I don't even realize.
Yeah.
Because you done did it for 20-some years. Like when you walk in the park, everybody talking. So you gotta talk up.
Yeah.
So the people here, unless you whispering to somebody and you ain't doing that in the park like that. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody doing that. Ain't nobody doing that. Dudes start looking like, yo,
I love when you said it, because
what's going on?
Just saying to somebody sometime, like when I respond to people, because I'm so used to having not to like, it's a macho bravado that we carry a lot. And just even in response, like, what? Like, what do you, what? You know what I'm saying? Just the reaction, like my girl would be like sometimes like, why are you yelling, raising your voice at me? You know, what do you mean? I'm saying what? You understand? But I'm not realizing the intensity of it. You know what I mean? Because I'm used to being approached by men, and I'm used to responding in that manner to not show weakness. You know, versus what? You know,
Right. Or you know, like you don't adopt that type of stature.
You know,
right?
If I don't like what you're saying, if I was like, what? Like, what you mean what? You know, but if I say what, you're gonna be like, I mean, I'm saying you're gonna have a different approach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so we don't realize how we become institutionalized, and I think that's what you.
True, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like I always would be adamant about saying I'm not institutionalized, but the truth is you cannot go through an institution for that long and not be institutionalized.
To some level.
You have to break yourself out of those things.
That's true.
Right? Post-traumatic stress disorder that comes from hearing the whistle blown 4 times a day for 23 years. That means, mathematically speaking, you have heard the whistle over 20,000 times. So if you just put that on a reel and put it on your head and listen to it, and you listen to that 20,000 times, you wouldn't be able to make it through.
Yes.
Right? The listening session. You would lose your mind. It would be torture to put that on your head and hear that. So the microaggressions.
Yeah.
Right? That microoppression.
Yeah.
Right? That morphs into post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
That you don't even realize is there.
Yeah, there's so many effects,
right?
Man, that people don't like.
Don't even think about.
Don't really think about. Like me, I've been out since 2008. You know,
okay.
So you know it's been what 16 years now.
Okay.
16 years. But it's still like fresh sometimes. You know, it's just like just depends on the setting that I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, like when brothers tell me like they just came home from doing a bid. One of the first things I pay attention to, I be like, do you wear glasses? Because most brothers' eyes go bad from being in there. Because, like I tell people, the psychological that's associated with it is they tell you lights out is really lights dim. And lights bright is lights on. And so you think about, you've been in for 23 and a half, you've been in for 25. I ain't do but 3. But just lights out, dim, lights on, bright. Every single day, no days off.
You don't realize
Not even on the weekends you get a break.
That's right.
And
what do that do to you, right?
Yeah, and so your eyes never really catch that. You know, and you might go outside maybe a handful of times a year.
Right.
For rec.
Right.
You know?
Right.
People don't understand. People don't know what it is to do 2.5 years in a dog cage. For rec.
Yeah.
To spend an hour in a dog cage. Walking in circles to get exercise.
Yeah.
Going back from the dog cage back to the kettle.
Yeah.
Now you're in the kettle. Now you're trying to do what you can to get some work in the kettle so you don't break your sleep pattern, so you can get proper rest. So you stay functioning. You stay reading. You stay trying to do things. You know what I'm saying? People don't understand, like I said, the trauma bonding. Like you create relationships trauma bonding in prison. Because you're already affected by trauma and the individual you're dealing with is affected by trauma. Then you got the police who are affected by the trauma that you all are going through, and then you're affected by their trauma that they bring in with them.
Yeah.
So now you building relationships all on trauma bonding.
Yeah. Not to mention the COs that's institutionalized.
That's what I'm saying. You come in there, they already, now they coming in from the streets.
Yeah.
Dude, him and his wife tripping or whatever, he coming in from the streets. Now you and him, y'all engaging. He's putting his trauma off on you. You putting your trauma off on him.
But he been locked up for 8 hours a day for 10 years.
12 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
12 hours,
12 hours
for 10 years.
Exactly.
So that means he done did 5 years
He
in
did
the
5
jail.
years.
He done been locked up 5 years.
Exactly.
But he got the keys.
That's it.
Right. That's it though.
He got the gun.
He willfully go into lockup.
So he's more.
Oh, he really messed up.
He more nuts than the person he's overseeing.
You right.
Exactly.
You're right. Because he willfully go.
Now the thing that when I work in the jail, the thing that I really people that come out of jails are in worse position. Because people who come out of jails, it's like you get a temporary Band-Aid for that scab that you peeled. Because you coming, most of the time, they're reoccurring people coming back into jails. They've scarred their knee, they're back in jail. Give them a Band-Aid, take the Band-Aid off. They scar their knee again, they back in jail. They take the Band-Aid off. They keep falling into the same hole, scraping up their knee. You know what I mean? There's nothing for them. And then finally they get sent to prison, right? Majority of the time, these are mental health issues. These are the things that I see our community being deprived of clinicians in the area who look like us, who understand our experience, to be able to convey to us and heal us. You know what I mean? So it is a lot. The picture of mass incarceration is far bigger than what we think. You know, and what a lot of people don't know, like in this, a lot of people don't even realize that in the state of Virginia, I think it's like, I think the number is 87% of the people incarcerated have some type of mental illness. They're taking medications or something. This, I think, is like 87.
87 or 67?
Is it 67?
I think it's something like that.
67? I know the number. It's 67.
That's a high number.
Well, if it's 67, the other 20 ain't accounted for.
It's still, right.
Right. Well, I like to always tell people that individuals who are incarcerated while they're in there, right? They they evolve into mental health problems, right? That you while you're inside,
right?
You have mental health that transpires while you're inside, and you're affected by that condition. It creates a mental health issue,
and that's the trauma. That's that post traumatic stress. You see what I'm saying?
So maybe 87.
That's what
you see.
Now, I think it is 80. I got to check, but I think it is 87.
That they're
affected
in that way.
In the state of Virginia alone. Mm-hmm. Because, all right, what happens is you get an injury. When you get an injury, they give you psycho meds. Mm-hmm. Like if you get, they don't give you pain relievers. They don't have pain relievers, and they're not allowed to give you Vicodin. They're not allowed to give you, extra strength Tylenol. You got to get, it has to be subscribed, and if you get it, it's very temporary. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you get a certain injury, like a spinal injury, you're going to be given psycho meds, antidepressants. You see, they might give you an antidepressant versus giving you something that will truly be an what they call it, a opioid. Mm-hmm. You understand, to help relieve your pain. So these things are part of the issues and problems that create the mental illness in the prison system. But then you still have the factor of people who come into the prison system already met with some type of disorder, along with the trauma that they're not being treated for. Your body is not created for you 24 hours to respond to trauma. Your body, your brain, the endorphins kick in. The dopamine kicks into your brain to respond temporarily to that trauma. It's not meant to be with you 24 hours. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So that causes an imbalance right there. Mm-hmm. You see, and when you're not being treated for these issues, and then it goes on down the line, now the next thing you know, you find yourself a couple of years, you come down the line and you find out you're schizophrenia, you got personality defects, and you know what I'm saying, all kinds of, these are the type of things you run into in the prisons. Yeah. And then like Hassan was saying, you get some brothers who look for relief. So they'll try to play the role of being mentally ill and play the game of putting the medication under their tongue and taking, the syrup drinks or whatever, trying to get around it, thinking that they can beat the system. And then you end up now, he is mentally disabled. You know what I'm saying? He does have some mental issues from just taking medications, trying to get relief from whatever stress he's going through, or trying to get the courts to manipulate the courts so that he suffering from some mental illness, and he been on the mental floor program pod and
Sam's pod.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? These are the things that go on in there. You know, brothers be trying to get out. You know, and they do anything possible. But the greater part, like the jails, are really serious because you got our people who we populate the jails in the state of Virginia about 43%. Okay, so that right there is almost maybe 24% more people incarcerated, double how many people black men in society.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So when you come out of the jail and you're not met with services to aid you, you know, and you're not met with services to aid you, what's going to happen? Because when you go to jail, you're gone for what, 6 months, 3 months?
Yeah.
The most you can't do no more than a year.
Right.
So when you're out, the only way you stay in there long term is if you're still waiting to go get sentenced and you can't pay your bail or something. Now you might be in there for 3 years, 2 years, or whatever your case may be, but still you return. Jails do not provide. Now Norfolk City Jail, we have a lot of programs, but those programs are only for specific people with specific charges.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're only talking about 2% of the jail that's getting treatment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Counseling and things like that. Maybe less than 2%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, how do we, you know, because ultimately, you know, the goal is to decrease the amount of people that's incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to keep people as productive citizens in society.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now there's always the inevitable, and as long as there's a system in place, systematically people are going to end up incarcerated. That's that on that. You know, but what can we do on the side of like prevention? You know,
That's the key though. Prevention is the key. Prevention means creating programs that catch the youth in middle schools. You know what I'm saying? Because the kids that are most impacted by the crime in gang shootings and things like that in our communities are those who are from the ages of 13 to 15.
Yeah.
So when you catch the middle school kids,
yeah,
and give them programs that can help, you know, elevate them and uplift them in their character, and that is another thing. You have to teach these kids character. You know, I can give you all the means of having a good life, and but every time you leave me and you go back to projects, you know what I'm saying? The only thing you know is to be destructive. You know, so we got to teach you how to, you know, your character and things like that. But all of those right there, that's prevention is key. You just said it, prevention, and that's creating programs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's really the solution, right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Like ultimately, we don't want to be striving to do all we can to help men and women make a transition back into society, or to help them with, you know, inhumane conditions inside of the prison. I do not want you there.
Don't want you there.
Right? Like ultimately, my goal is to ensure that our youth do not have to tread, right, the same path that we did. This is ultimately the goal, right? How do we break that cycle? How do we crush that? How do we cut ourselves off from it, right, and never revisit that again? Like, it's okay to burn that bridge. That bridge, you know, those are the only type of bridges that I burn, the ones that I don't never intend on going back across, right? So burning that bridge to, you know, mass incarceration, right, is ultimately what our goal is and what we strive to do as Community United Focus and Freedom Over Everything and Prisoners' Rights Clinic and all the other wonderful, marvelous organizations that are by our comrades, by our brothers who are out here doing it. And we show up for each other.
VA,
you know,
League for Safer Streets.
Come on, man, Rich Minds, you know, you got so much, so it's just beautiful, you know.
I wanna ask both of you something. Thinking back before y'all got incarcerated, thinking about that little boy, you know, transitioning from a place of innocence to a world that was set up for the inevitable 23 and a half and 25 years. Looking back prior to that transition or during that transition, what can you say individually? What can you say that little boy was missing?
Missing. I think, you know, I had a great mother and father growing up. Wonderful. I still have them with me. They're my best friends. I think for me is if I would have had a little bit more patience in certain circumstances. Being hasty. You know, sometimes like if I had the ability and I could, like I can, so I am. You know, that type of thing. Right? And, you know, to whom much is given, much is required. And all throughout my life, I've always been placed in situations with certain responsibilities. But then when that's placed in your hand, what do you do with it? Like, you have to do the right thing by your gifts, right? By your love and your message and who you are. So for me as a child, you know, I wish I just had a little bit more patience of things that I didn't have a comprehensive knowledge of, right? Like, you know, traveling with the wise man in the Quran, Moses would always question him, right? He would always, I think it's in Surah 18.
Yeah, that's
right?
when
And he would always question him, right?
Yeah,
Kida, the green one.
Yeah,
and he would always question him about what's going to happen, what's going to happen. He said, you can't have patience. You can't travel with me because you don't have patience. In that which you don't have a comprehensive knowledge of it. But how do you gain a comprehensive knowledge of something unless you have patience? Right? You're going to have patience through that process. It ain't going to download and be on you or in you right then and there. So for me, I think that just that, right? Having patience to really see things out before I act, not being hasty in my decisions, right? Not moving too fast, not thinking things out, right? It's chess, not checkers, right? We thinking 10, 12 moves ahead. So we have to approach our lives that way. And I think that if I had that ability, right, to approach my life in that way, then, you know, and I don't want to say that things would have been different because it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
but what I would,
the question wasn't
right,
about what
right,
would be different.
right.
It was just about what do you think that little boy was
Yeah.
missing?
That's right.
Well,
And that's true. Patience.
I would, you know, I had a wonderful mother and I have a wonderful father. You know, I had a lot of family support. You know, I sniffed my first bag when I was 8 years old. Though I sniffed a bag of dope when I was 8 years old, I wasn't in an environment that was outright introducing me to heroin. You know, it was like an experiment, curiosity, you know, and wasn't my family that exposed you to it, it was my community, you know. And for me, I believe that there's a necessity of examples that I know was missing for me. You know, though I had my mother and my father in my life and my uncles, I would say the most upright person in my life at the time was my grandmother. And, you know, because my dad and my mom, they were figuring out life for themselves. You know what I'm saying? You know, my mother was a hardworking woman, but she was about partying hard, and she didn't drink or smoke. But my dad, he was a hardworking man, but he was about partying hard with drinks and smoke. But my mother's intoxication was music, and just the attention of being, a beautiful woman and men lusting over her and women being jealous of her. You know what I'm saying? So for me, my community, and being my mother's only child, I didn't know my mother didn't have the pleasures of mothering me. She had to work hard all the time. Majority of my time with my mother was not on the weekdays, but on the weekends. And, when those times came, she would definitely, do the best to give me the most wonderful experiences that she could. But there was that gap when she was gone that, I was left to do my own thinking. And my community was not, in where I grew up in Patterson, New Jersey at that time, my community was really, really, flooded over with drugs and you know what I'm saying? And I was influenced by it. I was influenced by it, and that influence was something that, I believe had it been different, if I had grew up in Bloomfield or Bergen County, New Jersey, that wouldn't have been my influence. I could remember growing up, like, when you go down to Market Street on the next, right there by Eastside High, by my high school, you know what I'm saying, which is 3 blocks from my grandma's school, you got a bar on every other corner, plus a liquor store in between them. 24 hours you can hear salsa music banging, from the bars, and people, out in the corners on the blocks hustling to get that money, to take care, pay the bills, So I was allured to it. And I think having positive examples in my community would have been something I believe is what I needed. My mother was a hardworking woman. And my mother, one of the reasons why I'm such a caring, giving person is because of how my mother raised me.
Yeah.
But my mother didn't show me, my mother was not affectionate to me. She was not a woman who, she didn't do the baby thing with me. My mother was tough, hard on me. She knew I was a young black man that needed to survive, and she felt like showing me any weakness, was going to be harmful for me, in the environment I came from.
Understood.
And I respect that from her today, but I had to understand it, and I realized that that's why when I go in these communities, like when I meet these young brothers, I like to be able to be approachable. I like to be able to allow them to feel like they can come and, build with me, and I just try to be a good example to them because I think that's what's needed.
Absolutely. Only reason I asked that question, for a couple of different reasons, but one reason in particular, is a lot of times, you get to talking to older men about the young, and they always somewhere in the conversation is like, I don't know what's wrong with these young and this and that. And the thing is, you do know what's wrong with them if you can identify what your little boy was missing.
That's right.
Because they say if you don't learn from history, it'll repeat itself.
That's right.
And so you have to go back to the little boy that you were, and that's part of that lifelong search. As a man, it's like you have to get to a point where you realize and can identify and express what it is that you went without.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's a long journey from there to 23, 25 years later.
Right. Yeah.
And you can spend your time thinking about and processing the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And then come out and you still that little boy again.
Still that little boy.
Yeah. And so being that, you can identify with, okay, the patience, okay, the environment, and that curiosity, like all the men that don't have the opportunity to sit and tell their story, those are the men that were from y'all's generation. They were the frontline men who can't speak for themselves. And so all of their kids are out here today.
That's right. That's right.
And so what y'all's little boys went without, that's our product of today.
Right.
The impatient, the ones that's stuck in the environment that got the mom that's,
Right.
the poster boy, the poster, she's the centerfold for men and running up and chasing, and all of that. And it's like being hard on the son, and it's like, shut that crying up, and and it's and the father is that's the brothers y'all was building with, but they don't have that influence because they not out here. They can't do anything. Their words don't really have any weight because they can't show face.
Yeah.
And so these kids is fighting blind. You know what I mean? Like they fighting blind, like fighting with one hand tied behind their back.
Right.
It's an unfair fight.
Yeah.
And the father done had enough time to where, or father, because they both went through, where they understand that. Well, it's like I can't even reach them. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I can't even reach them because they don't respect my absence.
I see.
They don't respect my absence, and so, like you said, I'm a firm believer. I discovered in myself when I was younger that everything has an invert to it.
Right.
White is the invert of black, black is the invert of white. Zero is the invert of one, one is the invert of zero, negative is the invert of positive, and so on and so forth. And so, like you say, you come from an environment where there's just as many liquor stores on the corner. That's how you have to be the invert, and you have to put positive influences on every single corner.
Sure.
And you gotta remind these kids that, hey, yeah, your dad, mom did what they had to do. They want the best, but look, there's an opportunity waiting for you.
That's right.
And you gotta stay alive to get there. To get to that opportunity. And I can't just see you go down that path.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? True. Like, come follow me this way. If you can't be there, it's like, look, I went and talked to little shorty the other day. Just go around there and let them know that let them know that you talked to me. Yeah. And then so forth. Yo, I talked to little shorty. Just go over there and let them know, like, and then he gonna be like, dang, everybody keep coming up to me and they keep telling me about the last person that I seen, and then you realize you got a whole community that's watching you, because it's like, yo, everywhere I go, like, it's somebody keep saying that they talked to such and such who just talked to me. Like, I can't escape the force.
Right.
That's how kids got caught up in gang culture when I was coming up. Because every corner you saw red, every corner you saw blue. After a while, you become.
Right. That's right.
And so you gotta be the invert. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We gotta be the invert. That's why
I appreciate that.
That's why I have so many different conversations with so many different people, because you gotta realize that you got to see this as much as you seeing the BS that's coming across your timeline.
Exactly.
Like, that's the only way to fight it.
And that's why we strive so hard. Like, it's amazing though. We do a lot. Yeah. We do a lot of work with nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I know that's, a mercy, and being in that position to be able to pour something into the community that's a little different.
Yeah.
You know, and just have a conversation with some cats, you know, like I recall one day I was wanting to go pass out some food items to the people. And I just went to the young brothers on the, you know, that's pushing their thing, you know, like, hey, I just want to show you my respects. Like, I'm going to be on the block, like, giving away food packages, you know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to give y'all my respect, you know. Like, I just want y'all to know, ain't out here, you know, capping on none of your money, you know what I'm saying? And the little brother said, thank you. Nah, just announce yourself. We know who you is. You know, we know what you're doing, man. Like, we respect that. You know what I'm saying? So the seeds are being planted. But the thing about it is when we plant these seeds, we got to cultivate them.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts with us being examples.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's 4 principles, you know, and in the 4 principles, the 4 usul is knowledge is first.
Mm-hmm.
So once you attain that knowledge, you know what I'm saying, then you can be in action of it. It's an amal, your action. You know what I mean? It's not about you getting the knowledge and then you just going and you blah, blah, blah. Because you haven't actualized the knowledge yet. You just at the moment you're receiving, it's just information.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start to actualize it, now it becomes knowledge that's impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know, it's the qawla, your speech comes now. You know what I mean? Now you can speak to it because you have experience in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the knowledge allowed you to attain experience in it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can speak to the wisdom in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to bear the hardship of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to walk in that knowledge and show that it will, as they call evidence-based practice.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I mean? That it will manifest fruits.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is, man. I think I wish there was more platforms like this.
There are people just,
you know,
I'm
pretty sure there probably is.
they just don't understand the reward yet.
You know, it is it's lovely that we can enjoy ourselves with, you know, some banging music and all that and good food and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But I believe we got to do more of this. You know, we got to do more of the sit downs and the, you know, building and just allowing brothers to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, we shouldn't have to always be vulnerable to our women. You know, because our women need us to be strong. It's all right for us to have a moment of vulnerableness with them, but we should be able to be vulnerable with one another.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's trust.
Yeah.
And so, again, man, it's like, this is
it's a weight lifted, man.
Yeah, hey, it is. Like, you don't know, I'm probably gonna do some crying tonight. When I'm gonna do some praying. Nah, I'm gonna do some praying. You know, I'm gonna definitely do some praying. And when I pray tonight, I know I'm gonna cause I didn't realize how much I still had pent up in me. You know, it's still a lot pent up in me, bro. And being able to talk about it right now just scratch the surface.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then
it's a lot more.
I know.
Always.
You can't get 25 in 2 hours.
Nah, it's like it's so much more, you know.
Nah, there's no way.
Thursday we went out to one of my bros, one of our brothers, one of our comrades went out to his event and we spent some time with 2 of our comrades. And I'm gonna say this because we gotta get him. He gotta perform tonight.
Yeah, I gotta perform about 9 o'clock, so I got about a few minutes to get to it.
But when the camera talking too.
When I went to when I went to this event Thursday, I was sitting with men that I had literally, like, we used to dream about what we were doing. And to see us all there actualizing what we used to dream about was so amazing to me. Like, my face was lit up the whole time I was there. Like, my heart was just, I kept saying like, yo, this is crazy. Like this is because we used to walk behind the bar in the barbed wire city on the fields and sit down on the benches and sit down in the pods, and we used to literally talk about that coming.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Community United Focus. Like we used to brainstorm, you know what I'm saying, on each other's programs. You know, sit down by pen and paper and literally write out curriculums. You know what I'm saying? Not no typewriter. Pen and paper, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then get to the typewriter. That kind of stuff just is. I'm just proud of myself. I'm proud of myself. Yesterday was the first time I really said, you know, I achieved something. I felt like I've achieved something. So thank you. Thank you, man, for doing what you do, man. Like, yo.
Yeah.
And
we appreciate you.
Again,
brother.
I want to thank you for our jingle, man.
We appreciate you for that.
When that
joint lined up, it's gonna be. Like we know that everything that has happened has been ordained, and so we move in that like the value of everything that we've been through today. Just and every time, like it seems like to me, you know, we always remind. Right. That yo man, you what the Most High has in store for you. No eye has seen, no ear has heard.
We plan, but He's the best plan
into the heart of man to conceive it.
It's not. We can't even imagine. Mm-hmm. So, but being here, it's like
it's coming. It's happening though. So I don't have to imagine it like I'm living it.
I don't know what you getting ready to do, but I guarantee you, it's gonna benefit somebody.
Oh yeah,
always.
And it's benefited us. And the one, I'm like, sometimes I'll be like blinking my eyes like it's real, because it's wonderful feeling. It's wonderful feeling.
Yeah, it is, man. Yeah, it is a wonderful feeling.
We're gonna land it right there, man. Because it's nothing better than a wonderful feeling. So,
and then we ended like with a wonderful feeling.
Wonderful feeling.
Like a feeling of accomplishment.
It's definitely been a wonderful feeling.
This is amazing.
It's been good.
I'm just glad you brothers get to breathe again, man.
Thank you, man.
You most definitely. You know what I mean?
You definitely provided.
Give us oxygen. Every time we come here with you, bro.
It's all the time.
Yeah.
So the vibe is wonderful. I'm so appreciative. Oh man,